Almost immediately after last year's deadly midair collision, the FAA started making changes to the airspace around Reagan National. Now, they're all designed to make it safer for all of us to fly. But tonight, the News 4 I-team and Ted Oberg are hearing from experienced pilots who suggest the changes may have gone too far and don't consider the impact they're potentially having on some residents.
Looking back at what happened to his family on August 3rd, Daniel Hill wonders if the next DC family will be as fortunate.
It was devastating. I was mad, crying, all of that.
Daniel's 6-year-old son was kidnapped from this now closed convenience store parking lot that day. He says DC police were there quickly on the ground and, crucially, in the air, too. A DC police helicopter searching for that young boy and the truck, seen on surveillance video within minutes.
When they called the helicopter flew around and found it.
His son was returned unharmed, and he credits that police chopper. But getting that helicopter in the air took more approval than in the past due to changes implemented by the FAA since the midair collision near Reagan National Airport, now requiring special permission to fly in certain areas, something that can impact flights into and out of the airport.
Unfortunately, what happened after the collision was a knee-jerk response in a lot of unnecessary changes being made in the airspace by the FAA.
Rick Dressler is a longtime helicopter pilot, most recently on a medevac helicopter in the DC area.
Our police ships are no longer able to fly.
The FAA has rolled out a series of changes to the way helicopters fly near Reagan National Airport since the collision last year. Dressler and a couple law enforcement pilots we've spoken with say those changes make it nearly impossible to fly over some of the neighborhoods in our area with some of the highest levels of crime. They point us to two. The first is this reconfigured map of helicopter zones, areas where police and medevac helicopters typically could fly. They've pushed those zones back from Reagan National Airport, and those red areas, nearly impossible to fly there. The second change is the elimination of what's called visual separation. It was a way the pilots of helicopters and planes could watch one another in the air and keep enough distance between one another to keep everyone safe, but that's no longer allowed within 5 miles of Reagan National Airport. Dressler and those other pilots tell us the only way to fly there is to get special permission from air traffic controllers, and they say it's almost always denied.
I know it from my relationship with Prince George's County, Fairfax County, Metropolitan Police Department. As a group, we all talk amongst ourselves and we work as best we can with our controller friends and colleagues to try and do better. These units are still trying to do the job.
The I-team obtained helicopter mission reports from an open records request and found Fairfax County police pilots noted numerous denials for flights last year. In October, pilots were denied 3 different times from flying near Reagan to help search for a suspect seen in bloody clothes. And that same month, pilots declined to lift off, knowing how close the scene of a missing 9-year-old was to Reagan National Airport, even though their help was requested by officers at the scene. Prince George's County Police tell us aviation total flight time over Washington, D.C. has remained consistent with previous years. But the I-team didn't ask Prince George's County about flying over D.C. We wanted to know about flying over Prince George's County, and they didn't answer those questions. In D.C., police say they respect the FAA's authority, believe their helicopter plays an important role in public safety, and have engaged FAA representatives in several conversations since the airspace changes were made. But do tell us, flight time from August to December of this year dropped by 60% compared to the same time the year before the changes were made. They did want us to remember crime, especially carjacking, is down in that time period, too. How often do you hear the police helicopter overhead?
Not often.
Neighbors in Southwest D.C. have noticed it too. Not just a lack of emergency flights, but routine patrols cut back as well.
Way less. Because when we first moved here, I would say like every 2 hours they would circle around.
Yeah. Air traffic controllers can still allow police flights near the airport for emergencies, and they have, but there's another rule you should know about. When helicopters do fly close in, it means passenger flights in and out of Reagan Airport don't. It's what happened while D.C. police flew to search for Daniel Hill's son. As first reported by the Washington Post, more than a dozen flights were delayed that day during the police mission. It led to a tense back and forth once it was over between the D.C. police pilot and air traffic controllers, according to pilots we spoke with.
That's a chilling effect. That means the next time there's a kidnapping or a carjacking or a murder, that the police unit is less likely to take off.
And that's exactly what Daniel Hill is worried about, that these new rules might keep critical helicopters grounded in a time of crisis.
I worry of that. Because that helicopter, they might not find them.
The FAA has said the changes they've made to keep us all safe are permanent, and a senior FAA official told the I-Team, if anything, there could be more restrictions added in the future. Sean, none of the police agencies in our area would allow us to talk to their pilots. But look, combined with what Adam was talking about, it's a complicated ballet. The question is, how can we keep everyone safe on the ground and in the air?
And yeah, how do you find the middle ground? And what, if anything, is being done right now to sort of rectify or change this? What do you find?
There is some technology, right, that would keep helicopters and planes and helicopters apart from one another. There's something called the Rotor Act. It has passed the Senate. It is stalled in the House. It would require all helicopters, including military helicopters, and this is the big one, to have some of the latest technology that would communicate electronically with one another about how high they are and where they are, and give them some sense of how to avoid collisions.
Do you think that we're going to see this process move quickly, or are we going to move very slowly?
No, I think it moves slowly because no one wants to have a repeat of what we had last January. Of course not. And keeping helicopters on the ground is one way to absolutely avoid that. But are we giving up too much? I think that's the question that the pilots we've talked to certainly want answers to.
And when you hear a parent or someone who might be in a panic and they think that their child was found because of that helicopter, to take that tool away is certainly
It's not just emotion. There is value in it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ted, thank you so much. We appreciate it.